in relation to agro processing. I will list briefly some of our key functions, which include provides technical service in relation to agricultural business development, provides a one-stop desk for export documentation of non-traditional agricultural products and traditional matters now, but seeing that we're focusing on the Agro-Processors Forum, I'm just making mention of that. Conducts market studies for local and overseas markets, participates in trade fair, whether it's locally, regionally, and if we're given the opportunity, extra-regionally. Advises on the availability of trade and business opportunities, provides linkages among exporters, agro-processors, farmers of non-traditional commodities. We also create linkages among stakeholders of the supply chain. So we're fortunate to have stakeholders here, and it's my hope that during our lunch sessions, we'll have more interactions. They'll tabletop displays. So you'll see the companies, the processors that are there. We have our staff, we have suppliers from the packaging, who are supplying packaging materials, We have, I saw business consultants present. We have the international organization. We have other government agencies there. So I'm just encouraging you. That's one of our functions, and that's this. If you may not have been a part of this whole idea of sharing, of learning, of tapping into the resources that are present, you can use the opportunity from today, starting, if you would not have done it during our break, the lunch session. Collaborate with local and international agencies to host activities that support agro-processing development. Agriculture Strategy 2020. The Ministry of Agriculture recognizes the importance, as it would have been mentioned by our PS and the Honorable Minister Bach, of agro-processing in Guyana. As such, in its 2020 agriculture strategy, it has identified one priority, which I will read, that deals directly with agro-processing, which is promoting agro-processing and value-added products. There are other priorities which I list a second, which is indirectly linked to this whole idea of promoting agro-processing and value products, which is to expand marketing and competitive opportunities at local and international level. And it's important to note that the Guyana Marketing Corporation is tasked with ensuring these priorities are addressed. That's the Ministry of Agriculture. Within the Ministry of Agriculture, which is the Guyana Marketing Corporation, we are currently finalizing, fine-tuning, if we want to say, a strategic plan also. Our strategic plan is being guided by a vision, which is to be the catalyst in establishing Guyana as the leading supplier to CARICOM by 2020. What is a catalyst? Because that's critical that you know. A catalyst, students, persons who are here will know the person, the thing, the reaction, the reagent, whatever, that speeds up something. So the Guyana Marketing Corporation is playing that role. Because for those who may not know, the Guyana Marketing Corporation facilitates, that's what we basically do, coordinates. And apart from the Guyana shop where we do purchases and the selling, and that's not the main focus, it is the agro-processors, it's the investors, the exporters, among others, who will have to ensure that this vision is being achieved. I will now identify some of the priority areas as it relates to agro-processing that's in the Guyana Marketing Corporation strategic plan. One such is to establish and utilize supply chain systems to create linkages from farmers to end users. And an important activity to note to ensure that this priority is being achieved, it will be to promote the extensive use of agro-processed products. And this is where I'm using the opportunity again. Prospective agro-processors, small agro-processors, medium-scale, large agro-processors. The Guyana Marketing Corporation, as it has been doing and will continue to do, will readily aid in promoting. There are a number of activities which we have identified for 2014 and beyond. So I'm taking this opportunity again to encourage you to come on board. At the end of the presentation, for those who do not know, I will give some contact details for you to contact us. Create awareness of the services that are provided by the Guyana Marketing Corporation throughout the country. As it is currently, we are not, I should say, creating this awareness throughout the country as it is. We have our website, but we want to do more. That's how we see agro-processing as important. And we know it is difficult individually for the small, very small, even some medium-scale agro-processors to do it, to take their products out. So, again, I'm asking that you contact us so that we can have these activities being done in collaboration. Now, shaping the future of agro-processing in Guyana. We must recognize where we are, and then we need to also look at some of the activities we need to do. One, mention is made earlier about our promotional activities being confined to only certain sections for want of so many limited resources, but that's not our purpose here, right? Region 4, that's where our head office is, that's where we are. So, what we want to do as it relates to this, we want to go national. We want to take the Guyana Shop national, as it was already mentioned before. We currently, as it's already stated, we have the Guyana Shop. It's where it is, Region 4 in Georgetown. So, in addition to taking the Guyana Shop nationally, we want to host events at locations other than the Guyana Shop, which we are currently doing. We also want to coordinate promotional activities in collaboration with local and international agencies. We are already doing it, but we want to intensify this collaboration. We currently have a working relationship with DAPO, but we want to strengthen that relationship. We want to expand. We want those persons who are not a part of DAPO come on board and let's collectively take agro-processing to another level. In terms of creating awareness of the services that are provided by the Guyana Marketing Corporation, currently, for those who may not know, we have the Guyana Marketing Corporation as a website. In addition, we normally do bi-monthly publications of our newsletter. It's only available in its electronic version. What we want to do, we want to have quarterly productions of the newsletters. We want to continue to have it electronically and have our copies available, let's say, ports of entries, so that persons can see what agro-processing is like in Guyana. What about, we can even have taking our newsletters, having it in our airlines. Tourists sit inside, visitors, travelers, they can read, all in line with promotion. We want to participate in local and more local and regional trade fairs. We want to also increase the production and circulation of printed materials. So in addition to our newsletters, which is available electronically, we also have some printed materials. This too, we want to increase the circulation. In terms of increasing the expectation of our processed products, where we are currently. Some agro-processors are licensed with local regulatory bodies. We know some are not. We'll be delighted in collaboration with GAPO, the regulatory bodies, to have more persons have their products licensed, because that's one of the prerequisites to have your product being sold in the Guyana shop. The enactment, for those who may know, and you can also read up about it, of the FDA Food Safety Modernization Act. This will pose some challenge in the future in terms of exporting our agri-processed products. So the Ministry of Agriculture has recognized this. They have already foreseen the difficulties, the challenges that will be faced, and as such they are working assiduously to have an expert hired in food science, food certification to work along with you, in addition to the local and international agencies who are providing such service. Where we are present, this is just some pictures as to what we do currently. Collaborating with agencies to host activities, have meetings with the members of the Agri-Processors Association and those who are not agri-processors, those who are not a part of the association. Then we have some pictures there of showing some agri-processed products that are currently found in the Guyana shop. In conclusion, the Guyana Marketing Corporation will continue to fulfill its mandate in improving the agri-processing industry in Guyana. This, however, cannot be done in isolation. As such, the cooperation of all stakeholders who are present, and even those who are not present, is of critical importance. The outcome of this forum will aid in shaping the future of agri-processing industry in Guyana. I thank you very much. For those who may not know where we are, we're located at 87 Robert Alexander Street, Georgetown, and our contact number is listed there. We also have our address, our email address. Thank you, Lee.
Very much, Aiga. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you, if not before, you have a better understanding of the role of the Guyana Marketing Corporation. It's a deliberate policy by government to have this agency to facilitate and to promote agro-processing and other non-traditional activities in the agriculture sector. Please, for those who have to use your cell phone, please have it on silent so that you do not disturb neighbors. All right, this morning, the question was asked that by the president of the Processing Association, are you ready? Very important question. In whatever we do, capacity building, equipping ourselves with the skill and the know-how is always critical and important. It's how we do what we do. Our next presentation will be a status report on capacity building for improving market access for small producers and agro-processors. And that presentation will be delivered by the very able Dr. Maxine Paris-Aaron, Agriculture Health and Food Safety Specialist at the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation and Agriculture. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Let me recognize the President of GAPO and also Mr. Hassan, CEO of New GMC. Let me also recognize among us colleagues, friends, agro-processors. A very good morning to you. Let me say thank you to the organizers for inviting AICA to be part of this important forum. Let me also wish us all the best as we become familiar with each other and as we seek to move and advance agro-processing in Guyana. I think the President of GAPO would have set the stage for us to think if we hadn't thought past the box until this morning. He would have set the stage for us to really focus in on what is agro-processing. I bring you greetings from our representative, Mr. Wilmot Garnett, and from our Director General, Mr. Villalobos. And let me hope that I can do this. Okay. Given the objectives of this forum, we want to zero in on those factors affecting the agro-processing industry, and we also want to take the agro-processing industry forward. We're quite aware of the challenges, so I wouldn't spend a lot of time on them. I think the president of GAPO would have outlined them very ably this morning. But we know that for the agro-processing industry to move forward, they need primary products, they need raw material. And that is ECA, was invited to also address the support to small producers. And so I'm going to move on some of the activities that we were involved in over the period. As early as when I joined ECA in 1996, we were working with the Ministry of Agriculture on the good agricultural practices. And we were working mainly with the technicians from the Ministry of Agriculture and also the producers themselves in regions 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10. These trainings actually serve to apprise technicians and producers about standards for land preparation, for the use of pesticides, etc. And we will have continued this up to about 2009. There has been a break, but we were asked by the ministry to resume that with the technicians from NARI, and so we'll be looking at that later this year. We also facilitated the preparation and publication of the farm diary, and this had been used by GTIS when they were in existence, and we also were using that with farmers, and we want to suggest that we go back to incorporating that into our extension activities of the Ministry of Agriculture. We also help the ministry to prepare a protocol for GAP certification, and this provided a checklist when they go on farms to audit the farms to ensure that things like land preparation, use of pesticides, etc. have been controlled and are abiding by the standards internationally. From 2010 to 2012, we collaborated with TFO, and that's the Trade Facilitation Office of Canada, to look at market access. And in that, we will have worked with producers, and this was a pilot project actually. The initial phase was a pilot to look at gaining access into the Canadian market, and TFO was not too bothered about whether you were able, through their intervention, to gain access elsewhere. What they wanted to do was to help farmers to move their products out of Guyana into the region and internationally. And what was done was that the farmers, there were 6 companies that were invited to participate. As I said, it was a pilot project, and our collaborators at the time were New GMC Ministry of Agriculture, and they helped us to be in contact with some farmers who went with us to different activities. And among those activities were workshops on packaging, on shipping. There were interventions in which we spoke to shippers here in Guyana. Nobody could really get the fresh produce to Canada in under 21 days. We spoke to airlines, and they were willing to make some space available on their airlines. But the problem is that we needed, or the challenge was being able to say to them exactly how much produce was going to be placed on the airlines at any time. So those are areas that are still being worked on. We had a seller's mission in which the 6 companies were taken to Canada and they participated in a fair and an exhibition, an agricultural exhibition, but they were also able to go to retail outlets and wholesale outlets and have a first-hand discussion with persons who were willing to purchase the produce as to what sizes, what quantities, how often, and the packaging material that was necessary. Presently, starting last year, we are also again engaged in phase 2 of the TFO Market Access Project. And for the producers, what it does, it allows them to work, and as I said, I'm going through this with the processors, with the producers, because your product is necessary for the agro processors to do what they have to do. And so therefore, we're working with the processors, with the producers, to ensure that quality produce arrives at your door for processing. Because there's a saying, garbage in, garbage out. And there's nothing that you can do to a bad product to make it good when it comes to your factory. So we're working with the producers again, and this time it's even more intimately because through the CESO office here, we access what are called volunteer advisors, and these individuals work directly with the producers in the field, and they work hand in hand with the Guyana National Bureau of Standards, NARI, New GMC, and also with ECA to ensure that when the volunteers leave the country, the work continues in the field until the volunteers next visit. So actually we're building capacity that can remain within this country to continue to provide service to the producers. And hopefully what we're doing with the pilot will then be extended nationally. We're also working with the producers for farm accreditation, international accreditation, and here again, it's where the Guyana National Bureau of Standards is playing an important role because their officers are they're building their capacity to continue to lead the producers in the direction of accreditation. This project will actually provide 50% of the cost of the accreditation to the producers when the time comes for them to apply for their farm accreditation. We are also working with producers in terms of agriculture diversification, so there's shade house and more specifically hydroponics. And we continue to work in the field with Ministry of Agriculture in terms of disease surveillance, because we know that if we have diseases of economic importance here that affects our produce, then nothing, including the agro processing products, will be able to get on a ship going anywhere to those countries that are dead set against things like Caramola fruit fly. Okay, so having addressed that, and move on quickly to agro processing. And again, we know the challenges, and we know that there are many, but we know that they're not insurmountable. And what needs to be done is for us to have a focused look at the challenges, and the parties involved agree to work together. And one of the things that is really affecting the agro-processors right now, and I'm talking about micro-enterprise, because fortunately or unfortunately, ECA has only been able to focus on micro-enterprise and in most cases, women agro-processing. So, to allay the fears of the GAPA president, it's not that we don't want to work with the bigger folks, but right now our resources are limited so that we're only able to work with micro-enterprise and mostly the women. But please be assured, sir, that having listened to your intervention, there is a good case to be made for bringing technicians from any of our other 33 countries into Guyana to assist with agro processing. But one of the immediate concerns, since we are supporting few women agro processors, and microenterprise at large, is the conflict that exists between registering them as friendly society and when they come to register as a business. There is that conflict. And then there is also cooperatives, etc., which need things that those things need to be looked at. And I'm quite sure that coming out of this will be that argument, and hopefully it can be taken care of. But from 1998, ICA has worked with the Food and Drugs Department to sensitize and train agro processors in food safety and working towards the food handler certification. And we've had quite a couple hundred of agro processors, and again, I am speaking specifically on micro enterprise and the women's group, and also most of the processors that actually do stuff from their homes as it is right now. So we've had a couple hundred of those, more than 300 persons trained. In fact, last year alone we had about 174 persons that we assisted Food and Drug Administration to train so they can have their food handler certificate. We've also provided hands-on experience in building a new product, in improving product with the assistance of the Guyana School of Agriculture. We've worked in partnership with QSO, and we've worked with QSO to operationalize, to form and operationalize a network of women agro processors, and continue to work with them from 2010 to present on things like product development, packaging material. And in terms of packaging material, I must say that we have gotten a lot of assistance from Sterling Products Limited, through their corporate social responsibility program, to look at acquisition of packaging material, to look at getting them to the agro processors in the kind of small quantities that they require as it is now, and getting it at as cheap a cost as we can get it. Sterling Products, through its corporate social responsibility program, has also assisted in marketing of the products and also distribution. They have recently also been involved in helping Blue Flame in the design of their packaging material. And I really think that Sterling deserves a bigger hand, because it's the only company right now that has a corporate social responsibility program, and they're not just sitting. Sometimes Sterling comes to you and say, we're stuck here, can we move and do something else, etc. So I am hoping that GAPA can inveigle other organizations to join, other companies to join that movement. We also have assisted QSO in overseas study tours, participation of our micro enterprise, our agro processors in exhibitions local and overseas. And I really would like right now to ask you to give a big hand to the women who are involved in agro processing, because I think that not only have they been involved in a movement to push agro processing, but they have also really worked on developing themselves in the as entrepreneurs. They've been standing out really well as entrepreneurs. They've represented agro processing overseas. In fact, one of the groups that ICA is involved in has won a prize of $5,000 overseas because of a product that they put on the market. And I think they deserve an applause. that group is actually the Cameroon Women Agro Processors Association. is also assisting and we're working along with agencies, like I said, QSO and with READ most recently, to assist with training agro-processors in pricing of commodities, record keeping, and micro-enterprise development. And to that end, micro-enterprise development, we do have, and that is ECA, has a manual that is called a self-learning guide that we have applied in the field, and the agro-processors are actually using it. It provides questions and answers to developing your enterprise, starting from asking you to make a self-evaluation as to, is this what I really want to do and why do I want to do it, etc. And the self-learning guide has been applied to regions 1, 3, and 1, 2, and 9. As I said, we have worked along with local collaborators to assist the micro enterprise, to assist agro-processors to get to exhibitions local and overseas. We are working with GMSA, and we started in 2010-2012 in phase 1 of the TFO's project. And in the phase 1 of the project with TFO, we also took one mission overseas to an exhibition in which, again, they learned about the market in Canada, what is required of them, etc. Now in phase 2 of that same project, we are actually working again, not only with GMSA, but again we have brought in new GMC, the Guyana Marketing Corporation, NARI, and the Guyana National Bureau of Standards. These agencies will continue to work with the voluntary advisors from SASO on the project. And again, just like it is being done for the producers, they will ensure that when the voluntary advisor leaves, they are still working on ensuring that the processors maintain the standards, they are producing wholesome food at a competitive cost, and they are working towards the standards that have to be achieved in order to address market access overseas. The main aspect of the TFO project which I want to emphasize is the capacity building of our local technicians. And so I want to encourage our local technicians to take this very seriously. I want to applaud the efforts of Ms. Boswick and her group in the Guyana National Bureau of Standards, because they are there every step of the way, asking questions, ensuring that they gain as much as possible from the volunteer advisors so that they can continue to do what they have to do when they leave. Again, in this project, we are offering to the beneficiaries who are presently involved in the project 50% of the cost of gaining accreditation. There is real need for the facilities of the Food and Drugs Department to be upgraded to make full use of this opportunity for this project. And the future. ECA will continue to work towards capacity building for market access, and some of the areas that we would like to work in would be market research and product development, market negotiation, and product development. There is an opportunity for us to work with READ and also with CANROC, and CANROC is actually the Caribbean body that looks at the development of rural women in agriculture, in agro-processing, and we want to work with them towards the development of a website. QSO is the other partner on this activity. It's website development where our agro-processors can market, can do their market search, can advertise. We are looking at assisting with development of or accessing of from overseas appropriate technology. There are lots of very simple things being used right over the border that are not too expensive, that can be adapted for processes here in Guyana. And we're hoping to be able to access some of those and have them for not only display, but if an agro-processor is willing to house it, use it, but have it available for demonstration to other agro-processors, we are looking at that kind of acquisition of low-cost, appropriate technology. We are also looking at continuing to support things like study tours and visits, and also bringing our technicians. There, in discussion only this morning with one colleague involved in food processing, food technology, there is a real need, and I think the president of GAPO touched on it, also emphasized it. There's a real need for us to look at the way our technicians are prepared even from high school. Because of the thought that, oh, we're just dealing with storing up little jobs and stuff, technicians don't get involved in this until they would have graduated and had a first degree, in which case they're not prepared to deal with agro-processing. So maybe it needs to be somehow incorporated into the high school system, and GSA would have a more pronounced training in agro-processing, even food technology, to assist with the preparation of technicians. And we need to also encourage the use of the mobile money facilities for those agro-processors who are in far-flung regions where there is access to internet, etc. However, there are no banks, and there is no way for them to move their money, easily. So those are some of the areas, and as I said this morning, being here and listening to the GAPO president, there are even other areas that I'm sure that ICA can assist. And at this point, I'd like to close and again say thank you for the opportunity. Trust that the agro-processors will get out of this those things that they expect, and also to say that ICA stands willing and ready to assist you in any way it possibly can towards a bright future. Thank you.
You've heard from ICA, and then you've heard from the government analyst department. Now let's try to set some ground rules, right? We have mics. Right? Yeah. We have mics that will be roving, and you probably can identify yourself and probably do not use more than 1 minute, because we want to ensure we maximize some time. And if someone asks a question, please, or let's don't repeat those kind of questions. So just identify yourself and raise your issue, and we have the presenters to address. Thank you.
That's it? Okay. First of all, my name is Raymond Trotz from the Phoenix Enterprises Guyana business. My business is bottling coconut water, and we are venturing into wine. And listening to the presentation, first of all, I want to commend my president, Mr. Ramprasad, on an excellent presentation. I think it was really well done. embraced a lot of the things that we've been discussing over the past few years since the GAPO was established. What I would like to focus on, though, is a number of things, but I'll try to be very brief. The first one is that in all of these ventures into diversification, I have not yet heard any talk of the economics of agricultural enterprise. It's important that if you wish to enter into a new area, especially agro-processing, and if you wish to go back vertical integration into producing, then we must have an understanding of what it would cost to produce a unit of whatever product it is, because that in turn has an impact on price. And if you look at agro-processing, you've got to go through the items that go into your product, and according to that, you've got to see where you can cut back on costs. So I think the economics of agricultural enterprise is very important in a discussion like this, not just for processing, but also for producing the raw materials. Second, I want to iterate that it's important to have the incubation facility that Prashad discussed, and linked to that would be the property rights issue. So I'm just endorsing that. A third point is, as small businesses grow, we need to have some kind of training or orientation in joint venturing. This is because a lot of creativity resides in the development of products from the small business level or from the micro-enterprise level. But then as you develop, you may not have, because there's a lack of adequate financial institutions available, you may not have the resources to expand, and it will attract the attention of larger businesses. In that case, you need to be trained or have an understanding of joint venture negotiations. I'll stop at that point because there are other factors that I want to mention, but I think those are just a few to start with. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Floor is still open. You take a bit of three and then you can have a response.
Good afternoon. Speaking in my capacity as chair of the study, but you wear many hats. I wanted to address the question of the last speaker said, the cost of production. I've been in this business of agro processing for nearly 50 years, right? And I've been many sessions like this on forums, but we never seem to move beyond that. Because the challenge really is in terms of the backward linkage in the cost of producing the raw materials. And indeed, if you examine the product formulation of most people are exhibiting, much of their inputs in fact are foreign materials because it's easier to acquire, it's lower cost, the quality is standard, the supply is reliable. So that is a major issue. I want to suggest the possible solution. One is possibly you use those materials that have a reliable supply and are competitive cost internationally. That is sugar and rice, which we said we will not address. But I think there's a large potential, especially in rice. Right? There's an interesting observation, there's a talk I gave the other day and one I used to give 45 years ago, which says that, rice is the lowest cost food you can really get. It's something like plantain is 7 times more costly, and cassava is 4 times more costly. But the important thing too about rice is that 1/2 of the protein consumed by Guyanese comes from rice. But that is by the way. So rice is there, and if you were to use something you might almost call a byproduct, which is the Boko rice, there is real potential of building an industry there. The other aspect I need to comment on in terms of cost of production, well, I just want to cover the one on energy, which is very significant. On the average, I think it's about 15% of the cost of production. There are the new energy technologies, the whole system of looking at your energy costs. And I have a gut feeling that if you address it seriously, And nowadays with the systems, I think the GNA has something, and under the low carbon development strategy, I think there's also a program addressing that. You can reduce your cost by 1/2. The third point I really want to make in terms of reducing your cost of production is to address the availability of byproducts or waste from agriculture, from whatever industry. Let's say if you take the coconut industry, a large part by mass of it is, goes as waste. The coconut husk, the coconut water, and the coconut shell, right? Many years ago, maybe 40 years ago, I would have studied that. And from the coconut shell, you can make activated carbon, which used to be used by OMI to the extent of 800 tons per annum. The husk you can use and together binding with balata latex as a substitute for rubber latex. You can make a cushion, which in fact is present in Mercedes-Benz cars and Volvo cars. So it's a very high-end product. But my calculation was that the coconut industry at that time accounted for 1% of the GDP. But if you were to collect 1/2 of the coconut husk and convert it into these value-added products, it will contribute to 2% of GDP. But I would have not only saying this, but have actually made these products. But the issue is always in Guyana about the scale of production. Overheads probably account for nearly 50% of the cost of production. But while since the very large multinational companies account for 15%. I remember being the executive director of Guyana Stockfish Limited. When we analyzed, at the beginning we used to bring corn and soybean meal in bags, and once the corn cost $100 per ton, you found that the freight was $110. Right? And if you were, at that time, Thailand was exporting cassava chips, right, to Europe at $5 per ton. But, the ship they were using was 100,000 tons at the time, cassava chips. And if we brought in the corn, not so much corn, but whatever, the soybean meal, in a 12-foot container, it would be more like $55 a ton, right? And if you were to bring it in bulk, like 5,000 tons at a time, it would be like $30 or $35 a ton. Meanwhile, of course, if you can bring it in at 100,000 tons at a time, which is way beyond the market, and represents the basic issue in our economy, the scale of production in everything, including sugar and rice, you could have bring it in at $5 a ton. Just to briefly mention, I know I'll take you more than a minute, that we take ownership, of course, of the corporate social responsibility policies and strategies that we're adopting as sterling products. Because we believe that by becoming socially responsible, create those linkages. And we're offering, I'm saying this in public, we offer initially for 6 months to distribute anybody's product for free, right? And thereafter for only 10% market. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I just want to remind you, let us focus a little on the tree presentation. While we're going to take other interventions, but we want to focus on the tree presentation, and let's always keep in mind that we are looking at shaping the future of agro processing, so that we can lay a kind of a roadmap we've been having our mind.
Okay, Vice President, Region 10 Farmers Association. First, I want to apologize to you, sir, for the fact that you just mentioned that we stick to 3 presentations, but then a salient issue is considered related to this. This morning at the session, we spoke about 2 main constraints. These were financing, access to financing, and entrepreneurship. And then some other speakers spoke about the issue of cost of production, the high cost. That was even just mentioned by the Sterling Products personnel here. What I find is not happening, there has not been sufficient, in my opinion, effort to secure adequate plantation. If I am wrong, there's a big question. I'm certain that half of the people who are here, who are producers, have problems with legal plantation, which is causing limitations on finances for the amount of acquisition for credit. I would want to suggest that if the same agricultural producers be part of a, would we say, advocacy effort to accelerate this process for producers.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are having questions from different directions. But what we need to do is to confine ourselves to some of the problems and solutions that are forthcoming. I want to just address Mr. Trust and first comment to our question in regards to costing. As business people, we will know that costing has to do with an internal arrangement when we start to set up a business. But what is important and what Dr. Chin was alluding to are the parameters and the factors we have to work with here in Guyana. And those are the things that I try to talk about in a synopsis in my presentation. I know what is forthcoming and what we would like to hear clearly, what can be done with some of these factors. The problem is that we as micro, small industries, we are being affected by a macroeconomic situation. And I believe that this is one of the purposes of this forum where we can indulge all the stakeholders from governmental, non-governmental, private, and public partnership, and even internal or international agencies to have these matters addressed. And in costing, Dr. Chin alluded to the fact I talked about it. It's not only about land acquisition, it's about the factors that we use every day in our operation. That is what is affecting costs. And electricity is the number one. So I know the question of dealing with the electricity problem, we have not heard anything directly from those that are involved. But I'm hoping that somewhere along the line, this forum will bring out some result. Because, I explained and I give an example. Trinidad is paying 3 cents for kilowatt hour for electricity compared to 32 cents, which is 10 times more we are using. So those are the factors we have to understand that we are working under. But what we want is that, I'm happy Mr. Hassan just indicated, we have some non-governmental institutions here. And we are hoping that in whatever way they can help in our operation as agro-processors, to reduce our overhead costs by way of machinery or any other input alternative energy to what we are using currently, like Dr. Chin is suggesting, maybe solar or some other alternative energy. We are hoping that we can materialize this quickly because, as I'm saying, we can't go and change the cost of GPL overnight. But what we can do in the short term is what we want to explore here today. So that's my comment in regards to